So UFC 312 just ended. I decided let's matchmake the two fights that I don't really care about in this card. This card was pretty shit, and there weren't really any significant fights apart from the title fights. And although a lot of people are kind of hating on them right now, I thought the fights were good. I thought the fights were entertaining. I mean, Sean Strickland, Drickus, I mean, they're going to have a war, and they definitely did have a war. Sean Strickland, he didn't do as well as we hoped he would do, but I mean, Drickus just unlocked a new gear. He just keeps getting better and better. And I mean, it just leaves questions, okay, on who are we gonna fight next. I mean, let's start with Tatiana Suarez. Not a great performance. Not a great performance at all. I mean, I don't blame her. She was coming off a bunch of injuries. She hasn't fought in a year, and frankly, she was just going against someone who was just levels above her. I mean, Tatiana Suarez is a very good wrestler, but I just didn't see how people were saying she was going to be a champ. Maybe when she was maybe after that Andrade victory, people were thinking maybe she's the real deal, and she was. But that was a while ago. And going into this fight, it was clear that she was just not the same. She definitely was a lot slower, and she just kept getting slow. She just gassed out after round two, and Wei Li just picked her apart for 4 rounds. And yeah, that was a clear 49-45 from Wei Li. I mean, Suarez after round 1 just couldn't do anything. I mean, Wei Li even took her down, which was something a lot of people were saying wouldn't happen. But now we're in this point, and Suarez is the number 1 contender. I mean, it's obvious she's not going to get a title shot anytime soon. She's going to have to work her way back up. And with Zhao Nan versus Jandiroba being on the cusp, I don't know if that fight's actually going to happen, but most likely the next title contender is going to be Virna Jandiroba. So for Suarez, I have a good fight, and this is someone who has been meaning to get a title eliminator for a while. Mackenzie Dern. I mean, this was just coming a mile away. I think Mackenzie Dern is she's getting up there. She's clear. Her striking has improved. I mean, not against top tier people, and I guess Ribas was a good fight to let her know, like, hey, she's still coming back. I mean, she's going off a 2-fight win streak right now, and honestly, for strawweight, considering the fact there's a lack of contenders, I just think that maybe it's time to give Mackenzie Dern a title eliminator. And I think this is the perfect one. I think this is a good matchup. I mean, we got 2 excellent grapplers, and they're both pretty hot. So, I mean, I would definitely be watching this with one hand. Just kidding. But I mean, let's just go on and make this fight happen. I mean, this could definitely be a main card fight, or maybe a Apex main event. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's probably going to be some Fight Night main event, considering it is a strawweight fight. It is against 2, popular strawweight fighters right now. So, and I don't know this fight. I don't think this fight is going to be boring. I think it's going to be a lot of good grappling exchanges. These are both talented grapplers, so I think this is going to be a good match. And honestly, I think it's a good way to Suarez back. I guess get back and have a good tune-up fight so that maybe she could be back in title contention. But it's also a good way for Mackenzie Dern to finally, get up in the rankings. I mean, Mackenzie Dern being a number 1 ranked fighter would be crazy. So, and I mean, we'll see. I think this is going to be a good fight. Moving on, let's go to Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili just styled on Suarez. I mean, that was a dominant performance. I thought, not a lot of people thought, but I thought Zhang Weili was going to school Suarez, and that is exactly what happened. I mean, there's just levels to this shit, Suarez is very good, but Zhang Weili's on another level. I mean, it's clear Zhang is just one of the best female fighters of all time. She's shaping up to be, I mean, she's dominating strawweight right now. She's almost cleared the division. I mean, after she maybe fights 1 contender, I think I could see her moving up and fighting Shevchenko, but considering Shevchenko has Fiorot to worry about, I don't see that happening anytime soon, but that would be a good women's super fight, But for who I would think deserves the next title shot, It's obvious, Jandiroba. I mean, like I said before, I think there is a title eliminator between Zhao Nan versus Jandiroba. I have Jandiroba winning that, and I think she's gonna get the next title shot. And I think this is gonna be a good fight. I don't think Jandiroba is gonna win against Weili. Sorry. I mean, Jandiroba is really good, but Weili's just on a different level. I mean, she's cleared the division. She's so ahead of everybody. It's crazy. Like, Suarez, she styled on her, and she styled on Zhao Nan, and she styled on Lemos, who are all great contenders and definitely top tier fighters in the division. But Wiley's just levels above them, and Wiley's just way too fast. She's really good at grappling now. I mean, she was able to take Suarez down. She was defending a lot of the chokes that Suarez was putting in the first round. I mean, Wiley is one of those fighters that you just don't see really losing anytime soon. You know, maybe if she moves up division, they're just bigger people, and I feel like Weili would have struggles against them. But against strawweight fighters, I mean, there's just no one who will defeat her in that division. I mean, it's clear. It's clear. It's gonna be I think Weili is just gonna be on the. It's just not. She's just not gonna lose until she either moves up and fights Shevchenko or she retires. And I think it's going to be a good fight. And considering that Jandiroba is definitely a deserving contender, I think she had a very good performance against Lemos, who did challenge for the title. She beat Xiaonan in UFC 314, then for sure give it a title shot. I don't think Wiley's going to move up now or maybe this year. I don't think that's going to happen considering how often she fights. But I could see her defending the title against Jandiroba maybe in a UFC China event at the end of this year or maybe early next year. But I just don't like how Wiley just doesn't really fight that often, you know? I mean, she defended against Zhao Nan in 300, and then almost a year later she defended against Suarez. I don't see Wiley really fighting Jandiroba in International Fight Week or something like that. So maybe end of this year, I'm guessing maybe November or December. I could see that happening. Next, let's go to the main event. Honestly, I think the main event was pretty good. I thought the fights were really good. And for Sean Strickland, I mean, that was just not a good performance. I mean, I was disappointed. I was expecting Sean Strickland to come out there, maybe do something different, but he really didn't. And it's clear that he didn't change his style, and I just think Drickus just evolved more than Strickland. I think we saw that answer. That, you know, Drickus, he just keeps improving, and Sean just doesn't. He doesn't really want to change that style. And although that style works for most other middleweights, for Drickus, it doesn't work. Because Strickland, when he comes against someone who just doesn't give a fuck if they get hit 1,000 times and they just keep pressing forward, Sean Strickland kind of crumbles. He's not able to have that good of a defense when someone's pressuring him. And he doesn't have good of an offense to make himself seem like a threat. Now, it's clear Sean is not going to get, is not touching the title anytime soon. He got a title shot off beating a washed Paul Costa, which honestly isn't really that bad considering Khamzat's getting a title shot off Whitaker, which is crazy. But if I were to talk about who he should fight next, I have a really good banger right there. The winner of Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. Now, they're fighting later this month, and I think this would be good matchup. I mean, I think him having a rematch of Allen would probably not be as entertaining, but him fighting again like Hernandez, who's definitely a rising contender, I think that's a good fight. I think this is a good fight. I don't want to see an Izzy rematch. I don't know why people think Izzy's going to beat Sean. Izzy back then couldn't beat Sean. Sean is just a very horrible matchup for Izzy. I mean, Izzy just doesn't do well when it comes to boxers who apply pressure. We saw this with Imavov. We saw this with Sean Strickland. I mean, Kevin Gastelum, of all people, is giving Izzy some trouble. It's like those type of strikers who just keep pressing forward and applying pressure just don't do well against that guy. I mean, just do really well against that guy. And I just don't want to see that. I want to see fresh matchups. I want to see Sean Strickland fight some other contenders. Why do we need to see this, fight him, fight Robert Whitaker, bro? Have those guys not fight Sean Strickland. Sean is the number one contender. Why the fuck would you give that to Izzy or Robert, who haven't won a fight in who knows how long? And I don't know, it's just really frustrating. But I think this is the perfect fight. Brendan Allen is fighting Anthony Hernandez. Winner fights Sean Strickland for a title eliminator. I wouldn't say title eliminator, but a top 5 spot. I think Sean Strickland, he's the number 1 contender now, right? So, I think this is a good one. I think Brendan Allen's number 9. I think. Yeah, he's number 9. So, I think if Anthony Hernandez or Brendan Allen have really good performance, I want to say Brendan Allen, but if Anthony Hernandez gets a breakout performance, destroys Brendan Allen, or maybe even submits him, I see him fighting Strickland. I see that being a good matchup, just because Hernandez is a good has a good style of fighting. He's really good on the ground. He has really good cardio. I mean, we're getting 2 cardio machines here, so there's a good bounce back fight for Sean. I think it'll kind of good way to defend his number 1 spot. It's also a good way for Anthony Hernandez to get the respect he deserves, because this man is a future champion. The man is literally destroying people left and right. What he did to Michel Pereira is brutal. He destroyed that man for 4 rounds and TKO'd him. And I think Anthony Hernandez destroys Brendan Allen. I just don't think Brendan Allen's good at all. He shouldn't have won against Chris Curtis. And, Anthony Hernandez, future contender. I see him maybe even challenging for the title. And I think he actually has the worst style in middleweight. Middleweight is kind of not really... It's a very grappling, shallow division. I wouldn't say it doesn't have any grapplers, because it does have Khamzat. But if you look at the top 5, Dricus is more of a striker. Strickland's more of a striker. Mavov is more of a striker. Mavov has good grappling, and so do all these other guys, but we don't really use it as a part of their style. Khamzat's the only true grappler, because his striking sucks. Izzy's a striker. Rob is a striker. Kaio is a striker. And then we have Anthony Hernandez here, who is going up against Brendan Allen. And then, Brendan Allen has some good wrestling, but he's mostly a striker. I think Anthony Hernandez has a style that could be a nightmare for a lot of people. And I honestly think that maybe Anthony Hernandez could be a problem for Khamzat and Dricus. I don't know. I think people are going to definitely look at this and think I'm crazy. I think Hernandez can become champion. I see a lot of potential with this guy. This guy is young. He's getting better. The way he did Michel Pereira and Roman Kopylov, that tells me that this guy has potential to be champion. And I think this is a good way to prove that. Have him go against someone like Sean Strickland, who is a former champion. Have him prove his worth. And I think he beats Strickland. So, yeah, I think this is a good matchup. The winner, Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. I would really love to see him fight Anthony Hernandez, so I'm probably just going to put a big emphasis on Hernandez over there. But, yeah, this is a good matchup. Next, we got Dricus. Dricus had a stellar performance. This man dominated. I wouldn't say dominated, but he definitely did Sean Strickland worse than he did in the first fight. In the first fight, it was clear that Sean Strickland was definitely ahead when it came to the striking. Dricus was just having trouble trying to land those overhands. He was having trouble with the blitzes. It's clear Sean Strickland's defense was pretty good, but in this fight, Dricus leveled up. His striking got better. He wasn't more clumsy. He was clumsy sometimes, but he was definitely a lot more calculated and a lot more patient when it came to his striking. He was able to land some good hits, and his power is really good. He broke Sean Strickland's nose with a cross, with the right hand, and this man, if he hits you, you're gonna get hurt. And Sean Strickland has a hell of a chin. This man didn't even get slapped by Pereira. He got hit with the meanest left hook, and he was still able to get up instantly. But Sean Strickland got a chin, and Dricus gave him a hell of a time. I think Dricus is honestly shaping up to be one of the most dangerous middleweights of all time. I don't see anyone beating this guy. Khamzat's definitely going to give him a good fight, especially the fact that Khamzat's going to grapple heavy in this fight. But honestly, I think Khamzat gets done worse than Strickland. At least Strickland is really good at strike. At least Strickland has the striking and the chin and the cardio to last 5 rounds with Dricus. Khamzat doesn't. If Khamzat doesn't get an early submission, which honestly I doubt, considering Dricus is a good grappler, the man can defend submissions. If Kamsa doesn't get an early submission or very lucky finish, well, he's screwed. Round 2 and up, that's Dricus' territory. And that's why next matchup we need to see, as you can already expect, Kamsa. This is very obvious. I mean, in terms of merit, I would probably say Imavov deserves the title shot more, but this is the fight to make. I mean, UFC is about entertainment. It's about making the most hype fights. It's about making the best fights. And although Imavov is definitely a good fighter and proven himself to be title challenger worthy, I mean, Kamzat's hype is unreal. He's clearly a very popular fighter, and therefore, this fight got to be made. This fight's going to be huge, and I think it's going to be a good one. A lot of people counting out DDP. Honestly, I'm going to be one of those people. I bet against DDP many times. I had Israel Adesanya winning. I mean, I didn't have Izzy. I had Sean Strickland winning. But I had Dricus winning against Izzy just because Izzy's trash. But, I'm just kidding. Izzy's good. It's just that Dricus was just a bad matchup. But a lot of people counting DDP out, especially when it comes to Kamsa. I'm sorry. I watched the UFC. I've been watching UFC religiously for years. Like, I've watched every event. I've watched all of DDP's fights. I've watched all of Kamzat's fights. And nothing can convince me that Kamzat's going to ragdoll this man. I mean, let's look at the facts here. Dricus is stronger. Dricus has better cardio. And Dricus has better striking. Kamzat definitely is a way better wrestler. He's a way better submission artist. He definitely is dangerous when it comes to the ground. Like, he could definitely take you down and hold you down. And he's a strong dude himself. And he can do that against people like Robert Whittaker. He can do this against Usman coming in a short notice fight. He can do it against Burns because he's a welterweight and a former lightweight. But let's face it, this guy's best wins is Kevin Holland and Robert Whittaker. Now, I'm not dissing Robert Whittaker. I like Robert Whittaker. But that's a Robert Whittaker way past his prime. I mean, a lot of people say, 2-fight win streak. Yeah, against a washed Paulo Costa and a 3-day short notice Ikram Alaskarov, who was cutting weight while being on a plane right there. And he was a new fighter. And Kamsa already beat that guy. I mean, Kamsa was given a very easy top 5 matchup, and if he fought someone like Izzy or Imavov or Strickland, he would have had a way tougher time. And mind you or not, Robert Whittaker was pretty much injured in that fight. He had that whole cyst thing. That's why, and then he panic attacked when Kamsa accidentally aggravated that injury to the point where his teeth got crushed. That choke was definitely not going to work. That wasn't really a choke. It was on his chin. But Robert Whittaker panicked because he did get injured. But that injury wasn't hit Kamsa crushing his teeth. It was just the fact he had an injury. And I think a lot of people saw that. A lot of these guys, Kamsa fans, are just watching TikTok. And all the UFC they watch is from TikTok. We don't actually watch these fights like a real UFC fan. So they think Kamsat's all this big scary guy. Honestly, DDP destroys this man. Kamsa has never fought anyone like DDP. DDP is a light heavyweight as a middleweight. This man is strong. And honestly, he has good enough grappling to be able to defend submissions from Kamsa. I mean, if Usman on short notice, who has knee problems, can pretty much just beat Kamsa, who had a full camp, and here's the excuse, though, he had a broken hand, he still got destroyed. And then they had to give him the win because he barely won. And he's in Saudi Arabia, man, or Abu Dhabi. I mean, Kamsa's record is spotty. And Dricus has only proven time and time again he's the best middleweight. He knocked out Robert Whittaker. Honestly, he was destroying Robert Whittaker most of that fight. I mean, Robert Whittaker definitely had some moments in round 1 and round 2, but it was clear Dricus was the one in control. It was clear Dricus was the more powerful fighter in that fight. He was able to submit Izzy, who nobody has been able to do in his career, was be able to submit Izzy, and he was the first guy to do it. And Izzy has fought some good grapplers. So, I mean, he exposed Izzy's ground game, and then he beat Sean Strickland, and he settled the debate. He settled that he's just a better fighter than Sean Strickland in that rematch. 50-45 him. Although most of the rounds were close, it was clear Dricus was landing the better shots, and I mean, Dricus is only getting better and better. His striking is getting better, his grappling is getting better. And while he's getting better, Khamzat's not fighting. This man has had 2 fights the last 3 years. His most notable wins are in 23 are the Robert Whittaker win, which was in October. His Usman win, which was the October before that. And then his Gilbert Burns win, which was in 2022. So you can't convince me, oh yeah, this guy, this guy's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. I think he gets exposed in this fight. That's why I think I want this match to happen. I mean, Dricus is not scared of this guy. And honestly, I respect that. This guy knows he could beat him. I don't think he's going to out-wrestle Khamzat. I think he's going to beat him. I think I'm expecting a late-round TKO. And I think this is going to be a good fight. This is going to be a banger. Let's see if Khamzat lives up to his promise and he fights in July. I'd love this fight to happen in July, maybe in International Fight Week. I think this would be a banger. And I mean, we have to see. I mean, this is going to be a good one, you know? We can either see Khamzat maybe prove everyone wrong, maybe even me wrong, and submit DDP in 1 round. Or DDP is just going to prove everyone wrong and be that guy in middleweight. And I think he's already that guy in middleweight, and this is his last test. Anyways, that's my matchups for this video. I mean, I'm not really going to do any other matchups just because I don't give a shit about the rest of this card. You can call me a casual. I don't give a fuck. But, yep. Khamzat versus DDP. Sean Strickland versus the winner of Allen versus Hernandez. Wei Lee versus Jandaroba. Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern. I think these are pretty solid matchups. And I think this is what people need. I think these fights are the fights that need to be made. So, for sure. You know, let me know. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm stupid as fuck. I don't give a care. But we'll see in the next one.